All right, folks, no trade retaliation and no trade war. And that's the subject of tonight's riff. Now, it seems like the experts are always wrong, especially all the lefty, mainstream, so-called conventional wisdom experts. We're going to talk some more about that topic with the great Victor Davis Hanson in just a moment or two. By this time, however, 6 months into President Trump's second term, we were supposed to have had a continuous stock market crash with sky-high tariff inflation and bottomless tariff recession, and none of it happened. In fact, the opposite is occurring. Now, here's President Trump this morning talking to reporters about his meeting yesterday with Fed head Jay Powell at the Taj Mahal on the Potomac. Take a listen.
I think we had a very good meeting. Forgetting about the building, that's out of control and all that. But I think we had a very good meeting on interest rates. He said to me very strongly, the country is doing well. He said, congratulations, the country is doing really well. And I got that to mean that I think he's going to start recommending lower rates.
All right, very, very good. The country is doing well. This morning's Wall Street Journal poll shows that nearly half of voters rate the economy as good or excellent under Mr. Trump, with a huge increase of 11 percentage points over just the past 4 months alone. And the S&P 500 stock market index is up, wait for this, 28% in the last 4 months. There's probably some kind of link between the two measures, since the vast majority of voters own shares. Now, here's a key point. There has been no trade retaliation and therefore no trade war. There have been disagreements, for sure, but no retaliation and no war. And this is where the experts were completely wrong. Instead of a trade war, countries around the world want to do business with the United States and its largest economy in the world. And they want to do business with President Donald Trump, who is a man of action, who will defend America and is not afraid to make a deal. What we're seeing is, I think, a peaceful resolution of trade differences and a peaceful resolution of the broken world trading system. And this is an enormously positive contribution by Mr. Trump. And of course, the experts completely missed it. Now, recent trade deals with Japan and Indonesia and the Philippines and the United Kingdom confirm what the president's been saying all along, that he will stand up for American economic interests, but he's more than willing to make a fair and reciprocal deal with our trading partners. There's a lot more to be done, but the master deal maker might have a couple new cards up his sleeve. EU President Ursula von der Leyen is going to meet him in Scotland this weekend. Something very good could happen there. Of course, China is still the biggest unresolved issue and probably the one that concerns investors the most. But that situation was calmed after a very rocky start. And Treasury man Scott Bessent will be meeting with the Chinese in Stockholm this coming week to try to make further progress. A headline in today's Wall Street Journal: Trump's tariffs are being picked up by corporate America. Neither consumers nor foreign countries are assuming much of the tariff burden. I'd say that's a partial truth, but I'd say it's an interesting one. And although there's plenty more work to be done, it looks like a trade deal template with a 15% tariff on our trading partners is where Mr. Trump is headed. Now, using back-of-the-envelope numbers, 50% of $3.3 trillion of goods imports, well, that gets you to almost $500 billion in tariff revenues per year, or $5 trillion worth of tariff revenues over 10 years. That is a very big piece of change. It shouldn't be wasted on something like a temporary tax rebate, but it could be, instead, part of a full-scale flat tax and simplification plan. But whatever the final outcome of Mr. Trump's new pro-America first trade policy, which is asking foreign countries to pay a modest sum for the privilege of doing business here in the U.S. or the privilege of tapping into our consumer market. Contrary to what the so-called experts told us, that policy is doing pretty darn well. Thank you very much. And that is this evening's riff.